Be sure to visit my website, saracarter.com, for my latest reporting and stories. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe to all my emails, my email list, so that we can stay in touch and not be shadow banned, folks. Today, we're going to have a very special guest, an author and town hall columnist. It's Kurt Schlichter. I've known him for many years, and I see him at every CPAC. And I'm going to be seeing him this August at CPAC in Dallas, along with President Trump. I'm going to be asking him all kinds of questions. Does he think President Trump will run again? Should he run again? Who will be his running mate? What about Ron DeSantis? What about his new book, We'll Be Back, The Fall and Rise of America? I like that. Very optimistic, right? Very optimistic. The rise of America. That's where we should be thinking. And it's going to be up to all of us, each and every one of us being a part of the system. I talk about it all the time, for that to happen. And you know why Kurt still has hope in the promise of America. We're going to get the latest from him on all kinds of issues, covering our military as well. And we're going to talk about that. And I think more importantly, we're going to talk about what's happening right now in the Biden administration and how this administration has effectively rendered our nation in a state of paralysis, and the rest of the world, for that matter. I mean, inflation is out of control. Look at what's happening all across the globe with farmers. And by the way, lessons learned from the horrible policies that have taken place in Europe and Sri Lanka. Look at what's happening in Argentina. Look at what's happening in Ukraine. This is part of our national security as well. If we can't feed our people, if our farmers cannot farm, if we cannot get the supplies from overseas, this is a very dangerous situation we're in. And we should have never been in this situation. We're going to talk about that and more. Please follow, subscribe, get all the links at saracarter.com. That is saracarter.com. And while you're there, I want you to, again, sign up for that email list. Sign up so that we do not lose each other, so that we can stay in touch, so that we are not shadow banned. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Elon Musk. I wasn't going to, but he has just tweeted out some pretty incredible things today. I know that for all of you that aren't caught up on the whole Elon Musk soap opera saga with Twitter, it was going to buy Twitter, and it was a $44 billion deal. Elon Musk asked Twitter to disclose what he believes are extensive bots operating inside Twitter. That means fake accounts, a bunch of fake accounts. That's what he believes is going on there. And I'm sure he has people advising him of that. He said, before I spend $44 billion, you guys got to disclose everything. Twitter said, go screw yourself. We're not going to disclose that. We only have this many, only 5% of what's happening on our platform is bots. Elon Musk said, no, you got to show me actual documentation. I would want that too. If I'm spending $44 billion, which I don't even have like a smidgen of, but if I did have that and I was going to spend it, I would want to know all the facts. So Twitter says now, Elon Musk says, okay, well, then I'm canceling my deal with you because you're not living up to your contractual obligation. And Twitter just went, what? You can't do that. You can't cancel that contractual obligation with us. We're going to take you to court. And he says, fine, take me to court. We'll talk about that and more when I get back. Before I get to Elon Musk and what is happening overseas as far as our farmers, I want to talk to you about AMAC because we got to be thinking about what's happening here, right? The Association of Mature American Citizens. I've been reading some of your reviews actually on the web, on YouTube, and a few of you have said, thank you so much for recommending AMAC. I'm telling you, AMAC is phenomenal. So much better than that other group. And I'm grateful that I can recommend them to you. They are a sponsor of this podcast, and I'm very, very proud of that. And I'm always willing to share all the good news from AMAC. Now is a critical time to be vigilant in the defense of freedom. That is something that AMAC stands by. They believe it is important for us, all of us, including them, to be vigilant in the defense of freedom. And they will take that fight up to Washington, D.C. By joining AMAC, you are taking the first steps in saving the America you love. AMAC offers an alternative to just about every benefit that AARP, that other group offers. But guess what? No liberal agenda. You won't be backing any liberal agendas. I stand with AMAC, and I hope that you will too. I encourage you to join today at amac.us/Carter. That's AMAC.us/Carter. The benefits of membership are great, but the cause is even greater. Join today at amac.us/Carter. Let's just talk about the unrest around the world. What's happening right now? We have seen farmers uprising in the Netherlands. As I sit in here on my computer going through photographs of, the highways in Holland, just, just packed with cars, just packed wall to wall, tractors, cars. Farmers are standing up. Dutch farmers are saying, no more. The Netherlands is rising up. Remember, we always think of the Netherlands as being like, oh, that's where everything is nice, everything's calm. No, there's a situation happening across the globe. It's not just in the United States, but it's in the Netherlands as well. And this is from Fox News. Take a listen to this. Farmers in the Netherlands, and please go to foxnews.com. Read the stories there too. They're fantastic. And I am a contributor there, and I love the work that they do, and I write for them as well sometimes. Farmers in the Netherlands have formed their own version of Canada's Freedom Convoy, blocking highways with tractors, setting bales of hay on fire, and taking other actions to protest the government's recent goal, listen to this, to cut emissions that could force some farmers to shudder. Cut emissions. This is what's happening across the globe. This kind of craze to go to these environmental friendly farming situations, which I don't even believe are environmentally friendly anyways, have literally shocked the global, transport of food and the production of food. And this is something that we need to be paying close attention to, because it all started when we started noticing the problems in Ukraine. They weren't going to be able to export the amount of wheat that they needed across the globe. I mean, we know that Ukraine supplies a good percentage of that. So does Russia. And Russia actually supplies fertilizer, a chemical compound that we use in our fertilizers. And I've spoken to farmers about this here in the United States. I did so even for Sean Hannity's show. I want you to listen to this clip, and then we're going to get back to what's happening here. Listen to this.
The American farmer,
yes.
You're suffering right now under the current economy. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, yes, I can. Inflation right now has really hurt myself and other farmers around this country. And it's not being talked about enough, from the high cost of diesel fuel, the high cost of fertilizer.
And that just trickles down to the consumer, right?
Yes.
This isn't it's a farmer, it's the consumer.
Yes. The American people is going to pay the price for what's going on now, being ignored in this farm crisis, because this is a crisis. So the three things that the American farmer can still do better than anybody in the world is produce corn, wheat, and soybeans. And when you don't support them, you're taking away the base and the freedom to farm in this country.
That's at risk. Who's not supporting them?
Well, right now, it's the Biden administration.
If you had a moment to speak to President Biden directly,
right,
what would you want to say to him?
I would say you got to take care of the American farmer in this country. That's rural America. You can't turn your back on rural America. And if you want this country to survive, take care of the American farm. You see this stuff that we're sitting on? This is called land. Land knows no color. Land knows no party. Land produces food. And when you take away that ability for the American farmer to produce food, it's about as low as you can go. Take care of the American farmer, and this country will take care of itself.
So John Boyd, he is the president of the National Black Farmers Association here in the United States, is saying what farmers are saying across the globe. They're saying, listen, we can't continue to operate under these conditions. The cost of diesel fuel is through the roof. He can't move his tractors. It's like, what am I going to do? I have to fill my tractor just to move from point A to point B. I need the fertilizers or I'm going to lose my crop. So I might as well not grow them at all. And what happens when farmers cannot supply our stores? Sorry, folks, but when we go to the grocery store, when we buy milk, when we buy beef, when we buy pork, when we buy vegetables, it's because it came from a farm. And I love the fact that there are still, family farms that exist. And that's awesome. And farm to table food is just amazing. But globally, we need to get those supplies. We need to be able to eat. We need to be able to feed. And we're looking at droughts right now, right here in Texas. My gosh, we've been over 100 and 506 for weeks now. We got another week of this coming up, and I'm talking hill country. I'm not talking the Rio Grande. So farmers are feeling it. Not only are they dealing with an environment, whether that's friendly, whether that's not a friendly environment at the time, but they're dealing with governments. They shouldn't be battling their governments. There was actually a story in the Netherlands right now where, police actually shot at one of the tractors. For crying out loud. What is going on here? What is going on here? And you saw what happened in Sri Lanka. Let me read this about the Netherlands first so that you get an idea of why these protesters are protesting. So basically 40,000 protesters, they gathered in central Netherlands to protest the plans to curb emissions of nitrogen and ammonia last month because they finally realized, we can't do this. We can't afford it. We can't curb this. Weeks later, the protests have continued across the country and there's no sign of it abating. Farmers say the protests are not intended to anger their fellow citizens and consumers, but they need to force the government into a referendum. They need to get back to the table and say, look, what you guys said we needed to do, we just can't do. We need to sit down and talk about this. The Dutch government is aiming to cut those nitrogen and ammonia emissions by 50%. That's what the deal was, by 2030. It was a bid to improve air quality, land and water quality. The plans include cutting back, listen to this, on fertilizer used on farms and ratcheting back the number of livestock by an estimated 30%. Holy smokes. You heard what John Boyd said. Imagine now if you're in Holland. Imagine what's going on there. Did you see what happened in Sri Lanka? I mean, just look at what's happening there. I mean, this is the exact same thing that American leftists, radical liberals want to do here in the United States. And let me put it to you this way. We're not far from that happening. Look at what's happening in some of our stores. Look at the supplies. John Boyd is warning, we are going to be short on supplies. We are not going to get all the supplies we need, not only from overseas, but from our farms here in the United States. That is going to be a huge issue for us. We saw what the Sri Lankan president promised in 2019. This is from Foreign Policy magazine. His whole election campaign was to transition the country's farmers to what? Organic agriculture over a period of 10 years. Last April, the government made good on that promise, and he imposed nationwide bans on the importation and use, listen to this, of synthetic fertilizers and pesticides, and ordered the country's 2 million farmers to go organic. And now they can't do it. They can't produce the food. They can't get the crops off of the fields and onto the plates. This is a huge issue. It was so brutal, so swift. This is so crazy that we're going to these. This is like AOC, right? Oh, always crying. I'm wearing fancy clothes, by the way, wearing thousands of dollars worth of clothing. Using plastic, carrying around those handbags, best sunglasses you've ever seen, telling the rest of the world how to live their life. This is what we're hearing from the radical left. They're not using common sense. They're not looking at what we need to do. Look at what's happened in our own country. Look at the rise in gas prices, for crying out loud. Look at what's going on across the globe. We are literally teetering on catastrophic circumstances in the near future if we don't fix this. I mean, we can't predict the future. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. But you could see with the uprisings in Sri Lanka against the government, they're in the presidential palace. The farmers are saying no more. Used to be that in Sri Lanka, everybody had rice. Now they import rice. How is that happen? Can you imagine? This is what's happening here, folks. I want you to think about it. You don't realize it, but it's already happening. Remember during COVID, and let's just talk about, food. Let's talk about medicines as well. Remember during COVID, and when we started talking about like what the Chinese actually export to the United States, that the majority of our antibiotics are made in China, almost all of them, that our PPE equipment made in China, that we literally have military equipment and military uniforms and such made in China. I'm sorry, but China is an enemy state. Why are they responsible? And they really are. It's like almost like a weird Cold War that we have with China, kind of, like we still do with Russia, even more so now that Russia invaded Ukraine. They don't want the best for us. If we have to stand up to the Chinese, they own us. And now we've got Russia basically owning us. Now we've got, with energy, and we've got Iran, who sides with Russia and China. These are complicated issues, but they're pretty simple when you think about who your enemies are and how they are all connected. And we have a president that is literally fishing overseas for oil reserves, for gas. What is going on here when we have reserves here in the United States? He's looking to buy supplies from who? China? What is happening here? What are we doing? Do we want to wake up tomorrow morning and find ourselves storming the palace? Because believe me, when people get hungry, they storm. When people start going to the grocery store and they don't find the supplies that they need in that grocery store, because we're a different world now. We're not growing our vegetables in our backyard. We don't have cattle back there. We don't have eggs in our, well, not all of us. I want to get some chickens. My husband says no way. He said the HOA won't let it, even if we're in Texas. I'm like, I don't care. I want to get a couple of chickens. I want to have my own supply of eggs back there. But I'm serious. This is a very serious crisis, one that we need to wake up to. Oh, and before I let you go, and before we get to Kurt Schlichter, it's in our hemisphere already. Look at what's happening in Argentina. Have you guys even seen what's going on there? Chaos. People storming the streets. This is from Reuters. Argentine President Alberto Fernandez called for unity on Saturday as protesters marched in the capital to the gates of the presidential palace, lambasting the government over soaring inflation and crushing national debt. The South American country, listen to this, it deals with farming. A major producer of soy and corn is grappling with inflation running at over 60%. Huge pressure on the peso currency and spiking gas import costs. What does that sound like? America? That are draining already weak foreign currency reserves. You got to take this stuff seriously. Our nation is facing grave challenges in the near future. The World Health Organization, I don't even trust it as far as I can throw it most of the time especially when it came to COVID and China. But even the World Health Organization, the WHO, its president is warning of global food shortages. And guys, it's not going to stop at foreign doors. It's going to stop at our door. It is a ripple effect that is going to take place across the globe, and it's eventually going to come here. And please don't make the first thing that you buy when you hear this toilet paper or paper towels. Just get out there and buy some rice. We can find paper. We can find something, leaves. That is not the most essential thing in the world is toilet paper. Let's not sell out of that again. Let's sell out of something smart, like rice or canned black beans from Goya. Those are delicious. I love Goya, by the way. Everything Goya. Just buy Goya. I love Robert. I love Goya. Great food. And it'll last a long time in a can. Now, I'm not saying we should be alarmist. I'm not saying that this is it for us. What I'm saying is we need to be smart. We need to put people in office come November that are worth going into office, not a bunch of losers. Don't just vote for them because they've been there. Make sure you pay attention. You're putting people in office that deserve to be in office. And 2024 cannot come fast enough, guys. But we got to start with November. We got to start cleaning house in November. We've got to reshape Congress and the Senate. We've got to pay attention to what's happening on the local level. And please pay attention to what's happening to your local farmers. These are the people, these are the heart of America, right? Our farmers are the heart of America. They are the ones that feed our children, that feed us. It's not always easy. It's tough. It's a tough job. It requires a lot. Let's pay attention to that. And for crying out loud, if any of our congressional members that are working on this are listening to me, please stop selling off our land to China. It's disgusting. It's wrong. It's weird. It's a Trojan horse, and we need to be paying attention to that. I'm going to be with Kurt Schlichter in a moment. But before I get there, MyPillow, another great company that sponsors this podcast, The Sara Carter Show. And right now, you can get one of the best deals Mike Lindell has yet for MySlippers. And I keep telling everyone, I keep pumping the MySlippers because they're awesome. You could save $90 right now. Regular price, listen to this, was $139.98. Now you're going to get them for $49.98. You cannot beat that with the promo code. That's with the promo code Carter. You're going to get them for $49.98. It's a great gift. Great Christmas present. You wrap it up, you save it in the closet. Come Christmas, you're just like relaxing. You're drinking eggnogs with your family. You don't have to go out to the crazy stores. You don't need to beat up people. You don't need to look at maybe food shortages, maybe MySlipper shortages. Who knows come Christmas, but you will be prepared. You will make everybody smile at Christmas time if right now in summer you get these great Mike Lindell MySlippers. Go to mypillow.com/Carter or call 1-800-685-7221 for the MySlippers at only $49.95. And while you're there, take advantage of the deep discounts on all MyPillow products, including the BOGO extravaganza on bed sheets, MyPillows, and so much more. Visit mypillow.com/Carter or call 1-800-685-7221 today for the most comfortable MySlippers you'll ever own and get Mike's book for free. mypillow.com/Carter or call 1-800-685-7221. So I'm happy to have Kurt Schlichter here. He is a friend. He is an author. I can't even believe how much he has written. It's amazing. He's a columnist for Town Hall, a veteran, a lawyer, a comedian. He pretty much knows the ins and outs of Washington, D.C. the way nobody else does. I'm telling you, and your new book will be back, which is available now. I can't wait to read it. So thank you for being on the Sara Carter Show, Kurt.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm exhausted because I've been on like 6 shows already today, and I got Prager and some more later.
Wow.
And it's like, yeah, man,
me?
it's like book's coming up, and I'm like shameless.
Yeah,
I just like do anything. I was like Gibo and the Boners morning zoo in Minot, Oklahoma.
That's so awesome. Well,
I don't care.
I don't think you're as shameless as Hunter Biden has been. I mean, he should have had a book coming out.
Well, most of my pants are on.
Well,
what is it with this guy? Why does he have to preserve for posterity his, penis flapping around his Latavian whores?
I don't know. And you can't unsee it once you see it, and you can't help but look at it. It's like a bad train wreck, right? So,
my God, he's it's baffling. There's one where he just like slides into the pool for no reason. He's naked, and he's waving around, and I'm like, why would you? He set up the camera to catch this on film.
Yeah, there is something mentally.
My camera was on.
Well, there's something mentally wrong with him. I feel Kurt like he can't help himself. He's like a cry for help, maybe. It's really weird, but he puts all this stuff on record. The alleged diary of Joe Biden's daughter, being out there and being lost. It's almost like they are begging for people to know how screwed up and effed up their lives are. And yet nobody in the mainstream media seems to consider the fact that all of this crazy drug addiction, prostitution rings, everything else that's involved with like, as far as money laundering, we think, or like all kinds of weird business dealings with China, Ukraine, that's even an issue. Like, shouldn't we be investigating that? I mean, if it was Trump's son, if this was Don Jr., I think that the New York Times, and I tweeted about it, would have it all over.
Well, my favorite was Jake Sherman of Punch Bowl today on with Hewitt. And Hewitt was like, I don't know anything about this. Are you guys covering it? He's like, it's not, we really don't have enough people to cover it. It's like, yeah, you want to prioritize that chip bill that may or may not pass. You want to get that. You want to get something. Get the whole team out on it. Yeah. We're covering 100%. We're covering the field. Flood the zone. And the president's son's raying out crack and then blasting rails off some prostitute's butt.
Right.
And
he literally is weighing
it. I'm not really sure to be interested in that particular angle. Oh, I don't know. Maybe Americans.
Maybe the world. Maybe the world would be interested.
They'd be more interested if his name was Don. Yeah,
right.
I bet it'd be a lot more interesting.
I bet you it would. I mean, he's literally weighing crack on a crack scale in one of the videos. And, people are joking around about it now on Twitter. Like I saw someone tweet out, somebody said, I wonder how much money, he pocketed from China. And people are saying 20.6 grams or 20.7 grams. It was kind of a funny little joke, but this is embarrassing for our country. It puts us in a predicament. I think you have a great grasp of what goes on in Washington, D.C. Give people some background. I mean, you're going to be at CPAC. You're always at CPAC. I see you all the time. You are an author. You're on the radio. You're sought after for your advice. Talk a little bit give some people some background on you so that they know who Kurt Schlichter is. You're a veteran. I mean, you're a lot of things, Kurt.
Well, most importantly, I'm the author of the new book, We'll Be Back, The Fall and Rise of America, which you should go out and buy now unless you'd like to die alone and unloved and have your cats eat your corpse.
Wow, I'm going to buy one right now.
I'm just a suburban guy from California, I went in the Army, did some Army stuff, went to law school. I was a stand-up for a little while. Andrew Breitbart kind of like forced me to write for Big Hollywood. And then I just kept writing. I kept doing books and stuff. And now I got my latest book, We'll Be Back, The Fall and Rise of America. Fortunately, law school surgically removed my shame gene. So I will shamelessly promote this book.
Yeah, I think you're the best at it. I am terrible at promotions. I mean, I need to be. I know I really do need to be better, and people always tell me that. What gets you over that kind of hump to feel just like, okay, I'm just gonna do what I got to do.
I've never had any sense of shame, Sara. I just don't. I mean, Sara.
A new name.
I mean, and I didn't even need meth to lose my inhibitions. No, I just believe everybody should buy We'll Be Back, The Fall and Rise of America. And I'm going to keep telling them that. Book promotion's a hideous nightmare.
Right.
Because it's just, I mean, it's not that I mind the media hits. It's just once you write the thing, you have absolutely no control over where it goes.
Right.
So it's kind of a pain.
Right.
But, I think it's a good product. It's amusing. It's interesting. I got national divorce. I got Civil War. I got, there's a lot of laughs in it. It's not one of those bow tie conservative books where they're like, as Locke might have explained, as Burke pointed out.
Nobody ever reads those. Let's be honest. The majority of people get those books just so that they can put them on their shelves and they never look at them again. But your book, I would.
It's embarrassing. It's
right.
The bow tie cruise ship conservative thing. Look, when I came into conservatism, most conservatives were goofy virgins who never managed to do anything. And guys like, Andrew Breitbart and folks like, me and Larry O'Connor and other guys, we just kind of blew that away. And that's why they hate us. I was thinking of writing a review saying a review copy to my friends at the Bulwark who hailed my latest book, hailed my novels as, racist white nationalist fiction. to which stunned my Latinx immigrant wife to find out.
I know.
But I'm thinking of sending
stop
one
there, because that's important, because I know exactly what you're talking about. I've been the recipient of that, when I've covered the border, and I speak Spanish. My mother's from Cuba. I have a background. My background has been growing up, for a while in Hispanic communities and overseas, and I've never seen myself like that. And I remember at one point, this was years ago, I was covering the border, and there was a group that tried to target me, and they failed miserably by saying that I was anti-immigrant. I'm like the first generation on my mom's side born in this country. Oh. Why do you think always go to race baiting constantly when it comes to us talking about policy?
And of course, these guys are so white, they make Mitt Romney look ethnic.
Yeah.
Okay. These guys are human miracle whip, right? David French, for God's sake.
Seriously. That guy annoys me. I can't stand him. Isn't he with Lincoln Project?
Right? That guy, if he married an Italian, he'd think it was miscegenation. He's an idiot. Okay. These guys are despicable people. And, I'm thinking of sending a copy of my book to them, dedicated to their wives' boyfriends. Just so they have a review copy, so they can go and get their thing in. Because the last time they wrote bad stuff about my one of my novels, it literally sold 2,000 copies within 24 hours.
Oh, that's awesome! Definitely got to send those books.
You suck. No, they're the worst people. I hate conservatives who don't conserve. I hate conservatives who just want to be part of the crew.
Right.
And being part of the crew can be fun, I guess, but you got to actually do something. You got to have a track record of achievement. And the reason, they all wonder why did they reject us and pick Trump? Because you suck. Because you had 20 years and you lied to us. You did buy one more cabin on our cruise, and maybe we can have a Lido Deck seminar with a panel with Ramesh Ponnuru and Rich Lowry talking about healthcare reform. Yeah, everybody grab a Zima. Right. And it's just losers.
Well, and it's not only that, it's like it really does not excite any base. You're not going to get young people to be a part of it. You want people with courage that are willing to stand up. You have a book called We'll Be Back. The only way I see us getting back, and I've talked to so many people on this podcast about this, Kurt, is for us to be honest, open, not afraid, hold the left accountable, and expose them for what they are. Expose them. Not be afraid. Don't be afraid of being canceled. Don't be afraid of, this threat that, this woke cancel culture threat. You got to get to a point where you're just exposing them. And until we do that, we're not going to be able to do anything in this country.
Yeah, we need to get rid of any residual respect we have for the organizations that these people have taken over.
Right.
And that was one of Trump's weaknesses. He still respected organizations. He'll still say, well, Dr. Oz is a very impressive person because he went to Harvard. Okay. Maybe he's impressive. He's supposed to be a very good doctor.
Right.
Going to Harvard is not impressive. That's
right,
a bad
I agree.
thing.
I totally agree with you.
I'd rather have a graduate in auto repair from Gumbo State University than somebody with a gender studies degree from Harvard. Because if you've gone to Harvard, first of all, your hardest day at Harvard is the day you applied. Okay? You never, if you get into Harvard, you've got your credential unless you basically try and flunk out. They're not impressive people. It's simply credential factory. And we've got to end that. We've got to end the residual respect for the institutions as currently constituted. The New York Times, for God's sake, come on. Who cares?
Right.
They're trash.
Right. They really are. You can't just keep saying, this is the old gray lady, this is the no, it's not that. It's not that. They've made it very clear that they are biased. They've made it very clear that they are doing the left's dirty work. That is what the New York Times does. And you brought up something important about Harvard, and it's going to go to a bigger issue here that I think goes right to your book, to the We'll Be Back. For decades, our children, Kurt, have been, for a long time, brainwashed in the school by these leftist Marxist ideals. We see what's happened. We saw what happened in Virginia, which was amazing, where some parents finally got the reality check they needed and said, hey, no more. And, Terry McAuliffe embarrassed himself when he came out thinking that, the Communist Party was already here saying, well, parents don't need to be involved in their children's education. It was like,
good plan, Terry.
Yeah, good shot there,
Nice.
They came, that lost it for him. It basically exposed the left. They exposed themselves for what they are. Do you feel that this is what's happened, that we've taken these establishments and our bureaucracies have become infiltrated with these radical leftists that really do not love our nation, do not have the same respect for the foundation? They aren't the Andrew Breitbarts, that's for sure. They aren't the Kurt Schlichters. They aren't the Larry O'Connors. They aren't us. They are the exact opposite. And they have tried diligently to kind of change the way our children see things and the way we see them.
That's exactly what they have. Remember, the left didn't build any of this stuff. They're cultural trust fund babies, but more, in a bigger way, they're cultural scavengers. They've taken the corpses of our institutions, and they're still kind of sort of animated like the Walking Dead wandering around. But, 40 years ago, maybe you had a modicum of respect for the New York Times. Do you now? Really, it's garbage. It's going to lie to you. It is the front page of the New York Times is a lie because Hunter Biden is not all over it.
Right.
It's a lie.
Right.
And, look at all the other institutions. Look at the military. That's trashed its reputation. The NFL. It's a freaking children's game. They throw balls at each other, and they can't even handle that. They managed to screw that up.
Right.
Look, here's the thing, and these are not geniuses.
And the MLB.
We're not dealing with
we're dealing with baseball too. Look at what happened. Where people were just like, I'm not going to watch a game anymore. I don't want to see this anymore.
Every institution. And they're not geniuses. It's not Ernst Stavros Blofeld, petting his cat in his volcano lair. These are not accomplished people. And that's one reason I'm optimistic, Sarah. I don't see how we can lose to these half-wits.
They're
not smart.
Exactly.
Really, Ron Klain? Good God. Joe Biden? Who?
I agree.
But Hillary Clinton's supposed to be the smartest woman in the world? What metric are you using? What has she accomplished except maybe having sex with Bill Clinton once? Maybe. I'm not doing a paternity test here. It's off the subject, but
You are so going to get me banned, and that's okay. I agree with you, but this is where I think, I agree with you, and I want to believe that, and I do believe that good will overcome this idiocy. Our smarts will overcome what we're seeing. But what worries me is that the part that made them brilliant was that they infiltrated the system. And that's when I really started to get worried. And I wanted to get your take on this. When I started uncovering the stories, with what was happening at the FBI, with the investigations into President Trump, with what happened to General Flynn. And, I was stunned that people that we entrusted, armed agents of the United States federal government, were literally working against the president of the United States, not an enemy within, not a foreign entity, but the president. And it wasn't just the FBI; it was the DNI. It was, you had Clapper, you had Brennan, and then I started to think, how much further have they infiltrated? What is really going on here?
Well, look, I think what happened is a bunch of leftists brought in like-minded people when no one's watching a store. George Bush had 8 years where he could have cleaned things up in the wake of 9/11, but he was useless. He also lacks character. That guy stabs the people who defended him for years in the back for the crime of not choosing his fat, stupid brother. Don't ever tell me.
Was that a personal thing? Did something happen? Kurt?
Yeah, he's classy and a gentleman. But he could have spent 8 years fixing up the bureaucracy. He did nothing. Barack Obama let it go. Trump didn't really realize what he... Look, I like Trump. I wrote a book defending Trump. I voted for Trump. I'd vote for him again if he won the nomination. But he did not understand what was happening with the institution. He doesn't know what time it is. And
do you
he
think
did
he
not
should have
go
gone in
through-
and cleaned out the whole NS?
Yes.
I mean, he should have gone in and cleaned it out, gutted it. The
Yes.
intelligence agencies.
No residual respect
Right.
for institutions. In the book, We'll Be Back, The Fall and Rise of America, talks about it. I have chapters on what to do. I have a chapter, because I throw a little fiction in to illustrate stuff. I have a president looking back on his 8 years fixing things and what he did and how he did to do it. And you can do it. These are not geniuses. They're not super smart. They win to the extent they win because we don't get in the game, because we just abandon these institutions to them, because we don't hold them to standards. There's nothing the ruling class hates more than accountability.
Right.
Especially accountability to the likes of us. And that is a powerful weapon that we can use to crush them.
I absolutely agree with you on that. I absolutely believe that. It is up to each individual, each one of us. We're a part of this great system. That's what our founding fathers intended when they created this republic, that each one of us was a essential part of that system. We can't just give it up and leave it up to the government.
Yep.
These guys are bozos half the time. They don't care as long as they're lining. Okay, wait, how do you feel about Nancy Pelosi's trip to Italy and her husband, just chilling, her and the family at this beautiful Andrea Bocelli's like amazing Italian getaway. I didn't even know Andrea Bocelli actually had an Italian getaway until I read that story. I was like, what? I just thought he was like a blind opera singer that was amazing, but apparently he's got a lot of business talent. I mean, how does that make you feel when we see San Francisco the way it is, when we see what's happened to our country, when we know they have to have security, and my tax dollars are going to pay for security, I'm sure.
Look, they want to do what they're doing in California, which is create a feudal society. Them at the top, with total authority over us minions, who will work and labor for them, like that horse in Animal Farm that eventually gets sent off to the glue factory when he stops being useful. They have bought into, they have this. Yeah, they have this bizarre notion that they're somehow special, that they have some sort of divine right, that they are morally superior. And they're not. They're losers. They're weirdos and mutations. Okay? These are not smart people. They're not good people. They're bad people, and they need to be crushed, and they need to be suppressed, and we need to drive them out of our society. But the thing is, people are, it's getting better, but we still have soft Republicans. 15 Republicans joined John Cornyn in this useless gun thing, which is, his time in the sun. Oh, he's bipartisan today, Sarah. He's going to get a nice write-up in the WAPO. And I hope he gets a nice primary in the next election. But 15 Republicans joined that Jeffrey Toobin Zoom call of a bill. It would have been 35 10 years ago. So we're winning slowly but surely. And we're getting a lot more based folks coming in. Rob Portman, that macaroni-spined goofball, he's going to get replaced by J.D. Vance. Toomey is probably going to get replaced by Oz. Slowly but surely, we're going to get rid of these people.
What do you think is going to happen with Cheney? What do you think is going to happen with Cheney?
I'm looking for her humiliation. I'm also looking for the Republicans to do an investigation of the January 6th kangaroo court and the political prisoners.
Right.
Also, and I think it's a bare minimum, I think the next Republican president, day one, 5 minutes after he swears in, pardon every single J6 protester. You can't. It is so toxic to have two sets of justice. And we manifestly do.
Right.
Manifestly.
And I agree
everyone
with you.
Sees it.
But without having a Department of Justice, Kurt, without having a Department of Justice that's balanced, when the Department of Justice is sold out, when your FBI at the top levels are in the pocket of radical leftist Dems or even establishment Dems, then we're at, we're really at their mercy in some cases, unless we have, like you said, a Republican president that's willing to come in and say, no more. We are gutting this out. We are disinfecting our nation. We are going to shine light on all of these criminals, and you are all going to pay the price for it. We find out you broke the law, you are going to go to jail, or you're going to face a trial like any other American would have to face. But we never get there.
Absolutely. And there are a couple things to do. First of all, the president has, Trump nominates Sessions, and Sessions recuses himself.
Right.
I mean, come on. Sessions said, we're not having this investigation because it's manifest crap. So we're not doing it.
But he didn't do that.
Let the New York Times go crazy.
Right.
Let the
but
New
we
York
didn't
Times
do
go
that.
nuts.
Everybody's pocketing. Everybody's doing each other favors, even down to William Barr. Bill Barr, I was disgusted in the end. I'm like, you know what? I don't even care anymore. I even told Sean, I don't even want to go on the TV and I don't believe he's going to do anything. And he didn't do anything. And then John Durham came in, and look what happened. Nothing.
Well, look, another thing that needs to happen is the Republicans need to take their investigations on the road out to America, because
that's a great
don't
idea.
allow the Democrats and their witnesses to lie in D.C. because
That's a
they won't
great
get
idea.
convicted.
That is a
Take them to
great
Tulsa.
idea. That is a great idea. Take it
Go
like
to,
they did.
To Tulsa. Let them lie in Tulsa.
That's
and
right.
You'll get charged in Tulsa.
Well,
no more D.C. Let's stop. See, the thing is, we keep pretending the institutions aren't corrupt. We keep pretending that the FBI deserves something besides total disbandment.
Right.
No, we've got to stop pretending. The president needs to get up and say, the FBI has failed. It has disgraced itself. Don't tell me it's full of good apples. Name the good apple who quit and said, I will not be part of this organization.
I absolutely.
Where is that good apple? We're getting rid of it. You're gone. The new attorney general needs to say, no investigation of anyone in the administration will occur without my personal permission.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can't do that. Yeah, we can. And we're going to. And I'm going to stop fake investigations. You're not going to go set up the national security advisor. You're not going to entrap anybody. You don't get to do any of that. And pardon.
Well, that's exactly it, Kurt, because they've weaponized the system for their own political purposes, and it's not just against their political opponents. I suggest it's against the American people, but I think people are seeing that now. The Reuters, and I agree with you that the tide will shift and we will get back. But Reuters is showing right now that the president's disapproval rating is now at like 56% down. I mean, it's even higher in others.
There are more popular toe fungi
than Biden. Somebody said they wanted. Oh, it was Catcherd. Catcherd said that he would rather being kicked in the nuts by Bigfoot would actually be better. Than.
Well, I'm sure there's a Hunter Biden video of that happening.
Speaking of Hunter,
Pornhub account.
I am not letting you go until we play this Hunter Biden video. I want to get your take on it. Just give me your take.
Why does you emotionally scar me?
I'm going to scar you. Look at this. I don't know what that part is. Ooh.
I know what that part is.
That's crack.
Hey,
apparently.
It's 1975 in Hollywood.
07.
20.7.
So how long is 2.0?
I mean, what is it with this guy?
I mean, can he afford a housekeeper, for one thing?
Right. And why is he so desperate? We talked about that. Why would you record all this?
I don't know. He looks like Grody Montana. It's horrible.
He's like Caligula.
Caligula, except, without Caligula's good points.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see him marrying a horse, but no, I mean, yeah, and I love the media guys go, well, we don't think it's that doesn't seem like an important. I think what people are really concerned about is seeing if maybe we can, maybe the Democrats are going to have a Build Back Better thing if they can convince me. Let's have full team coverage. What's the zone?
But if that would have been Don Jr., if that would have been Eric, if that would have been anybody else other than Biden's son,
they are so they're so unashamedly regime rump sniffs.
Right.
I mean, it's really, if Biden stops suddenly, somebody's gonna have to pry him out of his colon, because I mean, it is it's and the thing is, they want respect. They're like, but we're the media, we're the truth tellers. We're just gonna pick the truth that we tell. And
That's
it might
right.
not actually be true.
Oh, which was very similar to what happened in the old Soviet days. Media,
Oh, yeah.
American media. I mean, it's like they're so desperate to go to that White House dinner party with Biden, to hang out with Jill at the nail salon. It's like they can't help themselves. It's like they just want to play
That's
with
Dr.
his new
Jill.
puppy. Dr. Jill, I mean, this is the kind of craziness that we were dealing with in Washington, D.C. Now, before I let you go, I want to ask you two quick questions. Are you worried that generals like Mark Milley, because we just talked about, the woke military, are going to be too worried about white rage and not doing enough to defend our country and Constitution?
He's completely failed. He is the worst chairman of Joint Chiefs in American history. He has completely destroyed the American military. There's a plan to bring it back. It's in the book. We'll be back, Fall and Rise of America. And it can happen. But it can't happen until he's gone and others like him are gone. And we have a new commander, expresses a new commander and his intent and enforces it. That was one of Trump's faults. He was impressed by generals. Don't be impressed by generals. Be impressed by victory.
My husband's a veteran, and we have said this all the time. Don't be impressed by the stars, right? Be impressed by the people that are willing to stand up and back up their men and do the right thing. The people that aren't afraid. We have a different kind of general. This isn't the old MacArthur days. MacArthur in World War II, people that would go out on the front lines with their men into battle. This is about politics. They're politicking their way to the top.
Well, look, a general by nature has to be a politician. That is part of what a general does. But you don't have to have all the bad characteristics of a politician.
Right.
Okay?
You got to be a good leader.
Set.
Right.
You don't have to be that.
100%, Kurt. I could not have said it better myself. That's 100%. I hope that President Trump gets a copy of your book. We'll be back. I hope he is reading it. I hope he calls you for advice. What do you think is going to happen? You think he's going to run?
I do. Right now, I think he's going to run. I wrote in Town Hall, I wrote Monday column, the case for Donald Trump in 2024. On Thursday, I wrote the case against in 2024. And he sent me a copy of the case against with a little note saying, Kurt, you're going to be very happy on what we do. I'm not going to disappoint you. Donald. So I'm thinking, he's leaning towards running. Look, and I believe, everybody who wants to run should run, except Nikki Haley. She's terrible. But if she's humiliated, that's okay.
What about DeSantis?
What about Eagles and families?
Yeah, but what about
Eagles?
That's true. I didn't know you didn't like Nikki Haley that much.
She's just Jeb in a skirt, which makes Jeb more interesting. But look, everybody should run who wants to run, and we'll see the best candidate wins. Trump needs to answer questions about his problems, including personnel, which we've discussed, and some others, and explain what he's learned. I'd like to hear that. I mean, Ron DeSantis needs to go out and make his case. I want the best in 2024. I want whoever is going to run to be sharp and tested and ready in a tough primary where they've got to answer tough questions from us.
Right, and ready to launch as soon as they get into that White House. Ready to go without
no
any. Yeah, exactly. Just get in and get the job done. Okay, I was going to make that my last question, but who do you want for VP? Anyone?
Rick Grenell.
I love Rick Grenell. He's great. Thank you.
He keeps telling me no, he wants to be Secretary of State, but duty calls.
Well,
Vice President Grenell.
Duty calls, yes. Duty calls. He does want to be Secretary of State. He has told me that personally
and
himself,
he'd be a great
too.
one.
I think he'd be phenomenal.
But he's very smart. He understands bureaucracy, and boy, does Rick Grenell know what time it is.
Right.
And a Vice President Rick Grenell appears in the book. We'll be back. Fall and Rise of America.
Oh, gosh. Everybody, get the book. We'll be back. Where can they go to follow you, Kurt?
Oh, go to Twitter at Kurt Schlichter, spelled just like it sounds. Read my town halls Monday, Wednesday, Thursdays. Go to my On Locals page.
And are you on
Get all your
Instagram?
full Kurt stuff there.
At all?
I don't do Instagram. No one wants to look at me, Sarah.
We all do. Put your books up there on Instagram and we'll start following you. Well, just for everyone out there, I'm going to make sure that on our website, we have access to all the links for Kurt's book and as well as his social media. So you get a big following out there and get a lot of books sold, Kurt. I can't wait to have you back on the show.
Thanks a lot. Can't wait.
Kurt Schlichter, he's a funny guy. I'm going to bring him back on the show. I just love him. And he's smart. He knows what he's talking about. He has very strong opinions about things. So do I. But I think he's right on the money. I mean, we got to see what's going to happen. And whoever is running for office better explain to us exactly how they're going to fix this mess that we are in right now and do it with knowledge. And I would love to hear, all the issues, all the things that, President Trump feels he's learned. Maybe I'll ask him in the near future. Hint, hint. Okay, on Friday, I don't know if you guys saw this, but tech billionaire Elon Musk announced that he was actually going to terminate his $44 billion deal to buy Twitter. I know we were just clutching our chests or like screaming at the top of our lungs. No, no, no. I know so many of you out there hopeful. I'm hopeful and wanted to see Elon Musk take Twitter. And I still think he will. I actually still believe he might do it. And I think this is part of a big plan. But one thing that I did notice on Twitter, and this is so amazing, that as soon as the rumors started flying that Elon Musk, and I'll explain why he's doing this to the best of my ability, but that Elon Musk was going to leave, I started to notice that my Twitter was building up when Elon said he was going to be there. It was like they took their hands off of their control, whatever the control room was empty. Like there were no Twitter folks in there, like doing their censorship thing, that thing they do so well for the leftists. And as soon as, he said that, not just me, but a lot of folks started to notice numbers falling off. Okay, maybe a few were people that are just mad. They want to go to someplace else. But that you weren't growing. So like if you have over 1 million followers or 600,000 followers, that all of a sudden the growth just stopped. Not only that, people aren't seeing my stories when I retweet them on their timelines. They literally have to come to my timeline and look at what I've tweeted in order to see the stories. So I think once again, our little Twitter censor team is back out in full vengeance. And somehow we will find out who you are and just expose you. And I hope that happens in a court of law. And that's what I'm going to talk about right now, because I truly believe that this was a plan on behalf of Elon Musk and his attorneys to try to force Twitter's hand. Now, he has asked Twitter to make it open how many bots are on the platform. That means, spam bots. How many of them are there? What are we dealing with here? Are the numbers on Twitter actually legit numbers? I've always wondered that. I mean, we really have no idea, although Twitter tries to say, no more than 5% of what we got going on here is actually spam bots. I don't necessarily believe that at all. And I actually think Twitter has really incredible algorithms, or they've been working on them. Look, if Google's computer or system is actually going sentient, meaning that it's AI, it's artificial intelligence, is that of a 7-year-old. That's what they're not Google itself is claiming, but the creator of it, the guy who worked on it, is saying, then I believe that algorithms exist in Twitter that can screw everything up for those of us that they don't want public, meaning that if they have a political agenda, they're going to ensure that that political agenda is followed through with. And what Elon Musk is saying is like, look, I'm going to buy Twitter, but I'm not going to buy it unless you disclose to me what's going on here. And that issue is significant. Why? Because Elon Musk is, like all of us, is trying to figure out what is Twitter controlling? What is Twitter doing? How does Twitter handle fake accounts? Is it using algorithms to silence other accounts? We know that. It punishes people. It throws people off. And now that it goes to court, Musk's lawyers can ask for full disclosure. Look, you want to take me to court? Fine, let's go to court. I mean, it's this huge law firm that's representing Twitter now. It's this crazy law firm with like 4 names. It's like, I can't even remember all the names right now off the top of my head, but it's a big one. And they represent a lot of people on Wall Street. So, okay, take me to court. Let's go to court and let's make it happen. And you can see that it was in his actual, his own Twitter account. He was retweeting all these memes that showed him, checkmate, and all of that. And so he knows what he's doing here. He is not a dumb man by any means. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he's playing, and I believe getting them to play right into his hands. So let's just see where it all takes us. I'm ready. I think Musk needs to go full board here, full disclosure on everything Twitter. So I want to read to you really quickly why Musk feels that he's going to win this. I mean, and this could go either way. In a 6-paragraph letter on June 6th, Mr. Musk's lawyers demanded more information from Twitter. This is coming actually from the New York Times. Sorry, but it's a good little paragraph here that I can read you. Not suffice to say that the New York Times, I still believe there's some stories in there that are worth it, but overall, I think it's a mess. But refusing information from Twitter stating that the company was refusing Mr. Musk's data request to disclose the number of fake accounts on its platform. That amounted to a clear material breach. Clear material breach. The next day, Twitter said it agreed to allow Mr. Musk direct access to its fire hose, the daily stream of millions of tweets that flow through the company's network. Since it went public in 2013, Twitter has estimated that roughly 5% of its accounts are spam bots. On Thursday, the company told reporters that it removes about 1 million spam bot accounts each day and locks millions more per week until the people behind the accounts can pass anti-spam tests. Okay, but you still didn't answer the right question. You, Twitter, and Twitter's executives did not turn over the requested information to Elon Musk. And because of that, because you estimate 5%, well, I can estimate that the car that I'm selling someone is going to drive from point A to point B. But if I don't get the facts out and give them the background on the car could be a lemon. I agree with Elon Musk. Take him to court, Elon. We are behind you. Let's see what happens. Everyone, thank you so much for being a part of the Sara Carter Show. I am so grateful for each and every one of you. So grateful that November is almost here. So grateful that we've got something to fight for. More important than anything, this great nation and our families and our friends. And I'll see you on the flip side. Remember, I have a really special guest coming up this month. You are not going to want to miss future podcasts or past ones. Listen to them. Leave me a review. Go to saracarter.com, saracarter.com, where you'll get all my social media links, as well as links to the podcast where you can download. Thanks again. God bless you. God bless our great nation. And God bless the great state of Texas.